I've been a high school teacher for about a decade now, so I'll go ahead and say it. Teenagers don't really change. And I actually say that to defend them, because people my age or older who say that this generation of teenagers are entitled or lazy or selfish probably forget or deny what kind of teenagers they were like. I've worked in privileged communities, I've worked in struggling socioeconomic communities, and the teens remain the same. All kids, no matter where they're from, can struggle with their own identity, struggle with friends, struggle with the tedium of everyday life, which is why I think Lady Bird is such a relatable story. Wait, that story takes place in Sacramento? Suck it up, kid, it's sunny every day there. You want to complain about something, try growing up in Canada. Rookie directors certainly made a difference this past year. That's one thing that can be great about the otherwise self-masturbatory ceremony we call the Oscars, that movie fans can finally hear from new voices within film, at least some new voices. Self-masturbatory, is that redundant? This year we got debut films from filmmakers that not only gave themselves a Best Director nomination, but their films a Best Picture nomination as well. Phenoms like Jordan Peele, Greta Gerwig, and a young filmmaker that nobody really saw coming, Christopher Nolan. What? Not important. What's important is we actually got a few new voices in the Best Director category, and that also means new cultural voices. Now, I'm not saying that a Mexican guy, a black guy, and one woman is enough, but for once, this year, the white dudes are outnumbered. I'm also extremely excited that Gerwig got the nomination. I might be getting sidetracked, but there were a lot of people that thought that Greta Gerwig didn't deserve a Best Director nomination, that perhaps some other female filmmaker should get it, when really the film she made was quite popular, but nothing groundbreaking and certainly not Oscar-worthy. Why didn't other bigger films get nominated? I mean, it's a wonder. This may or may not be obvious, but I was never a teenage girl. Shocking. But at this point in my career, I've taught hundreds of young women, and I grew up with two sisters, so I do know what teenage girls are like. And I say that because Lady Bird, I felt, had one of the most authentic voices of a young woman that I've ever seen in a movie. It's obviously a very personal project for Greta Gerwig. Many of the characters not only share the occupations of family members, but their names as well. And it's these personal touches that makes Lady Bird not only unique, but the story's so real. When you put something like based on a true story up on the screen, somehow it just hooks audiences. Even though this film didn't do that, nor does it claim to be a true story. Isn't a funny situation funnier if you know it's real? Aren't harrowing situations that much more harrowing if they're real? And aren't quirky characters just that much quirkier if you know they're not trying to be quirky, but they're trying to be real? I say that because we've all seen awkward coming-of-age films that are undeniable classics, but the characters within them aren't real people. Now, that isn't to say we can't enjoy Ferris Bueller or Napoleon Dynamite, but have you ever actually met a Ferris Bueller or a Napoleon Dynamite? Those over-the-top characters may inspire you to live a better life, or be yourself, or get a llama. But what I loved about Lady Bird is it actually inspired you to be a better person, at least for me. It could inspire people to be a better friend, a better daughter, or for me personally, a better father. My son is only 2 at this point, so really parenting is just immediately giving in to his demands to avoid screaming. Yes, I'm aware that with my son, arguably the best and the worst is yet to come. I know that, but what I loved about Lady Bird is, once again, it touches on that, and from 2 very different perspectives, from the child and from the parents. And again, to get authenticity in both voices is very difficult to do. Now, I'm not an old fart yet, I don't have a teenage son, so you would think that perhaps the title performance by the lovely Saoirse Ronan is the character that I can relate to more, but no, it's the parental units. Maybe I'm older than I'd like to admit. The performances of Tracy Letts and Laurie Metcalf were my favorite performances. The juxtaposition of the overbearing parent and the laid-back parent is again something very real. And hilarious. Didn't we all kind of grow up with that dynamic? Wasn't there always one parent you would ask if you wanted something? I loved Let's' performance in this film, and I've already talked about the other super dad in Call Me By Your Name. These men who love their family unconditionally. They're intelligent, they're witty, they're funny, and they do anything for their kids no matter what. Now, the cynic in you may say that's where the realism ends, but the optimist in me wants to believe that people like this actually exist. Because I actually believe that's one of the central themes of Lady Bird, that there is hope and love somewhere out there. The film is set in 2002 with the backdrop of a newly birthed post-9/11 America. Now, that's a little on the nose for me, but I understand the metaphor that this new and scary America represents the new and scary world that Lady Bird is entering into, and shows us out of conflict comes understanding and solidarity. Of course, this theme wouldn't be a theme, or at least a prevalent theme, if it weren't for the awkward, hilarious, and touching performances of Laurie Metcalf and Saoirse Ronan. See, the aforementioned conflict couldn't be a metaphor if it weren't for the conflict between Saoirse Ronan's Lady Bird and her mom, played by Laurie Metcalf. A brilliant conflict that not only pushes the story forward, but garnered both women Best Acting nominations this year. And I bet you wouldn't believe that a 30-something dude would relate not only to a teenage girl, but a middle-aged woman, but here we are. Lady Bird, like a lot of Best Picture nominated films this year, shines a light on something we don't necessarily want to see. And within this story, it's a family in all their flawed glory. Through their unemployment, their fights, their highs and lows, they show you what love is all about. And that's a great message, and a rare one in today's society. My love for this movie, though, sits a little lower than you think, because in terms of personal preference, it sits right in the middle of the 9 at number 5. But I give it slightly better odds to win Best Picture, sitting at number 4. Be sure to catch all of my reviews on the Best Picture nominees this year. Look for the Oscar in the thumbnail, and let me know what you thought of Lady Bird in the comments section below. But until next time, school's out. Real students, thanks for watching this review on one of the Best Picture nominated films. If you want to see all 9 videos on all 9 Best Picture nominated films, then of course click that playlist. You can like, subscribe, leave a comment, click that stupid notification bell, but don't forget to join me on March 4th, live during the Oscar ceremony, for a bit of levity, fun, Canadian wit, because I will be live tweeting during the Oscars.